The 92-year-old Mary decided to adopt a pit bull. Her family and neighbors were concerned for her safety. But Mary was determined to give the dog a second chance. For 5 months they lived happily together until one day, a neighbor heard screaming and called the police. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. When Mary's husband, Henry, died last fall, she became lonely very quickly. Her family visited her only a few times per month, which was fine by her as she knew how busy their lives were. But the feeling of loneliness only grew as time passed by, so one day she decided to visit the local animal shelter to have a look around. It wasn't her plan to adopt an animal then and there, but as soon as she laid eyes on a beautiful gray pit bull, she knew she couldn't leave without it. The pit bull was kind and wagged its tail excitedly at the sight of Mary. Within half an hour all the papers were signed and Mary and Kiko were on their way home. Everything went great with Kiko in the first few months. She was an 8-year-old pit bull, so Mary didn't have to go through the troubles of learning Kiko to be potty trained. Kiko also already knew how to react to commands and loved snuggling up to Mary more than playing all day. Mary truly found a companion in Kiko, until one day everything changed. It was a Thursday afternoon when Sanja suddenly heard loud screaming coming from outside. Without hesitation she ran into her yard, listening to the screams and trying to locate where they were coming from. As she stood there, she quickly realized they were coming from her neighbor Mary's house. Sanja quickly ran to Mary's house and banged her fists on the door. "Mary, are you okay in there? What is going on?" she yelled, hoping Mary would hear her. But the only response she got was the continuation of Mary's screams. Sanja's stomach dropped at the sound. She had to do something. She wanted to burst through the door, but she hesitated. Just as Sanja wanted to kick down the door, she heard Kiko loudly barking and growling. Her heart began to race at the awful thought of Kiko having to do something with the screaming. She had overheard a conversation the other day between Mary and her daughter. Her daughter had expressed her worries over her mother owning a pit bull and wanted Mary to think about bringing it back. Even though Kiko had never shown aggressive behavior before, she couldn't ignore her thoughts. What if Kiko had suddenly snapped? If Sanja were to barge in, she could get hurt by Kiko as well. There had to be another way to get Mary out of the house and away from Kiko, but what? That's when she realized there was only one thing she could do. Sanja decided to call the police. She chose her words carefully, trying not to imply that a pit bull was attacking someone. She didn't want to risk Kiko getting hurt, as there was still a chance she was totally wrong about the situation. As soon as she hung up the phone, Mary's screams got louder, and Sanja even heard a loud bang from inside the house. Sanja yelled again, but still no response. She ran around Mary's house, hoping to have a better view of what was going on from the backyard. Then Sanja carefully entered the backyard and immediately froze in fear. Mary's back door was fully opened, and she could see a struggle going on inside. "Mary. Oh gosh, Mary, hold on," she yelled as she ran toward the house. Suddenly the screaming stopped. "No," Mary yelled. Her voice was trembling with fear. "Don't come in," Sanja instantly stopped. "Why not?" she yelled in response. "Just don't. Go back to your house. Everything is fine here." Sanja frowned. Why is Mary acting like nothing is wrong? She was screaming bloody murder only seconds ago, and now she's saying everything is fine? Sanja didn't trust a word of what Mary said. "Sanja, please go," Mary said. Her voice was still full of fear, but there was also a hint of urgency. Sanja quickly made her way out of the backyard, but she refused to let it go so easily. There was something going on in that house, and she wanted to get to the bottom of it. She had no idea when the police would show up, but until then she was on her own. Sanja's heart raced as she looked at Mary's house. She had to find a way inside without being seen. She couldn't get inside through the back door as Mary was in the living room. She looked the house up and down and suddenly noticed a small bathroom window being open. It was uncertain if Sanja would fit through it, but she had to try. A drain pipe ran right next to the window, so if she could climb up through the pipe, she could reach the window. The last time she did this, she was a teenager sneaking out of the house, so Sanja had no idea if she could even do it anymore. She took a deep breath and grabbed the rain pipe with both hands and braced herself for what she was about to do. Slowly but surely, she began to climb up the drain pipe. When she was halfway up the pipe, she realized some of the other neighbors had come out of their houses to look at the situation unfolding in their street. Sanja tried to ignore their stares, but it was hard not to think about it. Luckily, she managed to climb up high enough, and she reached the window. She reached her arm out and was able to grab the windowsill. Now came the hard part. She had to grab the windowsill with her other hand as well, but by doing so, she had to let go of the rain pipe. If she were to miss, she would fall to the ground. She took one more deep breath and almost jumped toward the windowsill. She heard the onlookers gasping for air as she dangled beneath the window. Now, all she had to do was pull herself up and climb through the window. She was already out of breath from climbing up the drain pipe, so she knew she had to hurry up. Dangling there was also costing her her strength, and she needed all of it. Stephen's ascent to the top of the house leaves him breathless. He pauses, taking deep gulps of air, feeling the weight of the situation. Sweat beads form on his forehead as he tries to collect himself. Stephen steels himself, taking a moment to prepare mentally for whatever he might find. Within the silence of the bathroom, a distant murmur echoes. It's barely audible, almost like a soft breeze, but unmistakably there. Stephen strains his ears, wondering if it's a sign of danger. Determination sets in his eyes. Stephen runs through possible scenarios in his head, taking deep breaths. He knows he must face the unknown, but hesitates, wondering what lies beyond. With caution, Stephen inches the bathroom door open. His eyes dart around, seeking immediate threats. The hallway outside appears undisturbed, but a lingering unease remains. Emerging from the bathroom, the stillness of the house engulfs him. The previous screams contrast sharply with this quiet, amplifying Stephen's growing anxiety. But he treads lightly, senses heightened. Stephen stops abruptly. A shattered vase in the hallway hints at a disturbance. He ponders its significance, his heart racing faster. Could there have been a struggle? Could Mary be hurt? In the dining area, a half-eaten sandwich lies abandoned. Fresh crumbs scatter around, suggesting someone left in a hurry. The scene paints a picture of an unexpected interruption. As Stephen progresses, he notices displaced chairs and a crumpled rug. The room bears signs of a mild struggle. He tightens his grip, preparing for potential threats. He has to be prepared for anything, even an aggressive Kiko. Soft, elusive noises reach Stephen's ears. A floorboard creaks and shadows shift. Every sense screams that he's not alone in the house. He wonders why it's suddenly so eerily quiet. His heart begins to race at the thought of Mary lying hurt on the floor. Family photos knocked askew evoke an emotional response. Personal items, strewn about, reveal a hasty search. Stephen's mind races, attempting to connect the dots. As he ventures further, fleeting shadows play tricks on his eyes. Each shadowy movement raises more questions, making Stephen doubt his own perceptions. The deeper he ventures, the more the house seems alive. Shadows seem to dart, corners appear to conceal. Yet every time Stephen reacts, the shadows prove empty. It's like chasing ghosts in broad daylight. Each elusive glimpse fuels his trepidation. The sensation of being watched grows. Here a fleeting shadow, there a curtain's sway. Is it the wind or something more sinister? Stephen can't shake the feeling of being hunted. He must tread carefully, lest he become prey. Suddenly, Kiko's growl pierces the silence. It's low, threatening, a primal warning. Her position remains unseen, but her intent is clear. She sensed a threat Stephen hasn't. Her alertness heightens Stephen's senses as the murmurs grow in volume and clarity. It's as if Stephen is inching towards an unseen radio. Every word, though muffled, builds a narrative. A confrontation seems imminent, and he braces himself. He knows he's nearing the heart of the situation. Hiding behind a wall, Stephen's ears work overtime. Two voices converse, one familiar, the other foreign. It's Mary's voice, threaded with anxiety. The unfamiliar tone, more forceful, exudes menace. Stephen's pulse quickens, piecing together their exchange. Words emerge from the whisper's leave, "Don't, not yours." Mary's plea is unmistakable. The stranger's intentions remain enigmatic, but undeniably ominous. Stephen's mind races, preparing for potential outcomes. Every uttered word adds a layer to the unfolding drama. Outside, the day remains eerily quiet. No sirens, no signs of rescue. Stephen grapples with doubt, questioning his next move. Time feels both fleeting and eternal. Indecision battles with the pressing urgency to act, risking detection. Stephen sneaks a peek. Through the door's narrow opening, snippets of a scene form. An unknown man, Mary's anxious face, Kiko's tense posture. Each fragment paints a broader picture of the confrontation. Every observation is a piece of the puzzle. Crouched in his hiding spot, Stephen strategizes. He mentally maps out the room, marking exit points. He thinks of potential weapons, distractions, escape routes. The need for a plan is evident, and he methodically formulates one. Every detail, from the room's layout to the intruder's posture, is considered. Weighing his options feels like a monumental task. The stakes are clear: confrontation or evasion? He recalls self-defense techniques, seeking confidence. But doubts linger, questioning the wisdom of direct engagement. Every moment of hesitation feels like an eternity. From his position, the intruder becomes clearer. He's tall, casting an imposing shadow. His movements are deliberate, suggesting experience. The stranger's demeanor broadcasts authority, intimidating in its assertiveness. Stephen's heart beats loudly, realizing the gravity of the situation. The room's tension is palpable. Voices occasionally rise, breaking the strained silence. The intruder's dominance is evident in his tone. Yet Mary's responses, though fearful, reveal a surprising resilience. The dynamics between the two foreshadow a coming climax. Her postures reveal much about the unfolding scene. The man sitting tall, radiating confidence. Mary, though seated, maintains a protective posture. Kiko, ever the guardian, places herself between them. This silent ballet of body language speaks volumes. Amidst the tension, attempts at diplomacy are evident. Mary, voice shaky but resolute, tries to reason with the man. She alludes to police, money, anything to de-escalate, but her words seem to have little effect. The intruder's intentions remain shrouded in mystery. Suddenly, the man lunges, initiating a physical confrontation. It's swift and unexpected, changing the scene's dynamics. Mary screams, her voice a sharp contrast to the room's prior stillness. Stephen feels a jolt of adrenaline. The time for inaction is over. Powered by urgency, Stephen emerges from his hiding spot. His sudden appearance surprises the intruder, but Mary's eyes widen in shock and hope. The playing field, once skewed, starts to level. The scene shifts from passive observation to active engagement. The room now feels like a chessboard. Everyone is positioned, each with their motive. The stranger's is unclear, but his actions aggressive. Mary seeks escape, her eyes darting towards the door. Stephen, now fully in the fray, wants to protect at all costs. The struggle intensifies. It's a human tug-of-war, with Mary as the prize. The intruder attempts to gain control, but Stephen fiercely opposes. Their movements are erratic, filled with desperation. The room's contents become collateral, getting knocked over in the melee. Kiko's involvement adds a wild card. She barks ferociously, snapping at the intruder's heels. Her loyalty to her family is evident in every growl. Despite her size, she becomes a formidable force. Her unpredictable actions throw the intruder off balance. The scales of power shift continuously. One moment, the stranger gains the upper hand, the next, Stephen retaliates. Mary, initially passive, starts to resist more actively. Kiko, ever unpredictable, keeps everyone on their toes. The outcome of the struggle remains uncertain. Expressions reveal the emotional roller coaster. Fear, determination, hope, and desperation play across faces. Each participant is pushed to their limit. Their eyes speak volumes, revealing thoughts words can't express. The room becomes a theater of raw emotion. A pivotal moment emerges. Stephen, leveraging his environment, manages a significant move against the intruder. Using a fallen object, he gains a momentary advantage. The intruder's surprise is evident, his dominance challenged. The scene begins to tilt in Stephen's favor. With the tide turning, Stephen and Mary unite. Their combined efforts start to overpower the intruder, but the realization that they might succeed dawns on them. The intruder's confidence falters, sensing the tables turning. Hope begins to shine through the dire situation. The climax approaches, and it's palpable. Everyone seems to be holding their breath. The room feels smaller, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Eyes lock in a silent standoff, every move calculated. The hallway seems to shrink, intensifying the scene. Kiko's fierce loyalty shines brighter than ever. Using the ongoing distraction, she lunges at the man with a ferocity that belies her size. Biting his leg, she manages to hinder his movement. The attack offers Stephen a much-needed window of opportunity. The trio's unity becomes their greatest strength. Fueled by pure adrenaline, Stephen and Kiko unite in their onslaught against the intruder, so their combined strength and determination start to turn the tide. Amidst the chaos, they manage to overpower and momentarily restrain him. The room is a whirlwind of movement and emotion. The immediate threat subdued, reality starts to sink in. Mary, her face drained of color, reaches shakily for the phone. As she dials 911, Stephen, panting and shaken, tries to fully absorb the ordeal's magnitude. Kiko remains alert, her eyes still trained on the intruder. Relief starts to creep in, but it's hesitant. The distant sound of police sirens punctuates the lingering silence. The approaching sound symbolizes safety and the imminent end of the nightmare. Their expressions shift from alarm to hopeful relief. The ordeal's finale is now in sight. Mary's gratitude due with the intruder finally subdued, a flood of emotions ensues. Mary's immense gratitude pours forth, overwhelming in its intensity. She embraces Stephen tightly, tears of relief mingling with heartfelt words of thanks. Their bond, having weathered such a storm, strengthens amidst the chaos. Kiko, sensing the change, wags her tail in cautious celebration. The aftermath of the ordeal sees Stephen, Mary, and Kiko standing united, if not a little worse for wear. Their combined strength, trust, and unyielding loyalty to one another shine through brilliantly. The final frame celebrates their triumphant stand against adversity. The narrative ends with an unbreakable bond, forged in the face of danger.